introduce Jeff McLarty now. Jeff's going to talk about bull management because I think he's got quite an interesting, or the McLartys have got quite an interesting bull management program. So over to you, Jeff.
We'll start off. Our preg testing is improved. At preg testing time, our pregnancy rates have improved quite constantly, I suppose, over a number of years. And we're sort of getting a pregnancy rate now at preg testing time of around about the high 90s, mid to high 90s in calf. We put it down to a number of reasons for the improvement. One, we cull very heavily. Our females don't get a second chance. Probably the most important thing we do is we have a bull rotation system at joining periods, and things like the improvement of our agronomy, which we talked about a bit later on, and probably to a lesser extent using licks and products like Beachport to help with fertility in our females. I've been asked about bull selection, and I'll very briefly talk about bull selection, but we select our bulls on necessity, changes we need to do, whether we need to improve our females or whether we need to beef up our steers. So we'll select our bulls on those sorts of criteria. Most important thing probably for us is having good feet in this country because it is soft soil and good leg structures, and we need to have really good mobility in our bulls to be able to walk and be able to cover our females. And the other important thing, of course, is good scrotal size, to be able to produce enough semen to get through what they need to do. Our bulls are sent out to work in June, and we'll rotate them in and out every 3 to 4 weeks. We try to use one bull in a mob at a time, but from time to time with bigger mobs, we perhaps will run two. The reason we use one bull, if we can, is bulls fighting for position and amongst themselves. So we find that we get less injuries because of that. By rotation, we feel we can cover our cows more effectively with one bull, and then if we have a poor performer in there at some stage, then the next bull coming in will hopefully cover those cows he may have missed. Biggest problems we probably have is foot and leg soreness. Because it's the winter months, we have softening of feet, which causes cracks and abscess, which we generally have to work on, and trim back feet and things like that. And of course, in winter, there's a chance that they can slip and fall off a cow. So that's sort of the main injuries we can find. If we find a bull with sore, they're quickly replaced. And ideally, it'd be good to be able to sit out there with your mobs and watch your bulls serve and see if they can serve properly and look for corkscrew and all those sorts of things. But generally, it's not always possible and practical for us. If we could do it, we would do it, but we watch our bulls, just make sure they're up and mobile. And then if there's any sign of any illness or anything like that, then they're out and replaced very quickly. I was also asked to talk about the management of young bulls. We work our young bulls very differently. We try not to use our young bulls in the first cycle of joining, and definitely try not to use them with our heifers. We find that young bulls are still learning the caper of how to serve. Being virgin bulls, they're probably a little bit overzealous, trying to work, and are more likely to hurt themselves chasing the heifers or chasing a numerous number of cows which might be coming to the season in that first cycle. So we tend to put our older bulls over heifers, because they've just got a bit more skill and able to handle the situation a lot better. Other things we try and do is with young bulls overworking. One of the problems I suppose we find with young bulls overworking, is they can get penile injuries, and that's a real probably concern for us. And again, that's why we don't put them over heifers or put them that first cycle, so they're not overworking themselves. The problem is once they get a sheath tear or an ulceration, the bull is generally rendered useless, and they may seem to heal over it, but a year or so later, if you try and turn those bulls out again because of scarring and constrictions, that tear will reappear straight away, and those bulls will only get to serve 1 or 2 cows at best. Our young bulls are rotated in and out every 7 to 10 days, so it gives them a chance just to get in and work and get them out before they do some sort of injury to themselves, particularly to the penis.
The comment I make is that I really like the way you guys manage the risk of joining management. Essentially, I don't think there's many people around that put as much effort as what you clearly do into ensuring that these bulls are working at peak performance and getting the cows in calf as quickly as possible. And I suspect that that's probably reflected in your pregnancy rates, but I'm not privy to that data, so I can't really say for sure. But it is fantastic. The bull penile injury issue that you mentioned, Jeff, can you comment, please, whether any of that is associated with IBR, the venereal form of that? Are you familiar with that disease?
I'm not overly familiar with it, but most of our penile injuries come, again, by the young bulls being overzealous, and the cows tend to have the, they tend to, when they're trying to work the bulls, sometimes the penis is slipping out the side or between the cow's legs, or, areas where it shouldn't be going at times because they're just working a little bit hard, and then they tend to scrape the penile sheath. Once that sheath gets red and raw, you really want to try and get your bull out as quick as you possibly can. So once we see the bull's penis is hanging unnaturally, we'll try and get those bulls out. Because then if they continue to work on that, because bulls naturally want to just keep working young bulls, they'll work themselves till they do major damage. So once that major damage is done, the bull is rendered useless.